Fear of a name only increases the fear of the thing itself. Dumbledore said that, and though he wasn't talking about mental illness, he might as well have been. I'm Jenny Jaffe, I'm the founder of Project UROK, and I live with mental illness. Something really interesting happens when you actually use the words mental illness. If I came on here and I said, I have OCD, I have anxiety, I have depression, all of those things are true, but they don't sound quite as big and scary as actually saying, I have mental illness. Mental illness invokes these images of people who are unstable, of people who are mean, of people who are scary to be around in some way. And most of the time, that's not the case. 1 in 4 Americans struggles with mental illness, and those numbers are pretty consistent worldwide. So that means that either you or somebody you know and love has a diagnosable mental illness. And that's okay. Mental illness, like any chronic illness, is a spectrum, and it means a lot of different things for a lot of different people. What's not okay is the way that our media chooses to portray it. Something really interesting happened in the wake of the Germanwings tragedy last week. If you've been watching the news, I'm sure you know that a pilot for a German airline committed suicide by crashing a plane full of passengers into a mountainside. That's an absolutely horrendous tragedy, and it's a completely inexcusable action for anyone to take, no matter how they may personally have been feeling. What's interesting about the media coverage, though, is that they have been using the phrase mental illness to describe this individual. He was depressed. Depression is a mental illness. He had a mental illness. Now, I'm fine with them saying that he had a mental illness. What's interesting is that later that week, when Jon Hamm was revealed to have been in rehab for alcoholism, the media referred to his addiction. They referred to him seeking treatment, but they never once referred to his addiction as a mental illness. Now, don't get me wrong here. I am not equating Jon Hamm seeking help for his alcoholism to the Germanwings pilot committing suicide by killing an entire plane full of innocent victims. What Jon Hamm did was brave and took a lot of guts, and he's setting a very good example for people all across the world. What I am saying is that they both suffered from mental illness. It took very different forms, and they dealt with it in very different ways. We only apply the term mental illness to a travesty. We are saying that mental illness is scary. We are forcing people who are coming out about their depression to go back into the proverbial closet for fear that they will be stigmatized along with people who commit crimes that they would never be capable of. If we were coming out and saying, look, Jon Hamm, person we all like, has a mental illness too, we're encouraging people to seek help. We're showing people with mental illness that we value them and their lives. Now, yesterday it was announced that a celebrity dermatologist named Dr. Brandt tragically took his own life. In the media reporting, I've seen a lot of fingers being pointed at jokes that were made about him on the show Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I've seen a lot of people wondering what external factors must have been a part of his decision. And all of this seems to me like a really good way for the media to avoid talking about mental illness. The pattern that's become clear is that we only assign the term mental illness to people we perceive as adding little to no value to society. Until we can talk about people who are successful, who are well-liked, who are powerful, who are rich, as being mentally ill, we will continue to create a world in which it is unsafe to be honest about your own mental illness, and we are creating a world in which it is unsafe to admit that you have a problem and that you need help. Now, obviously, this is only one very, very small piece of a much larger societal problem. Obviously, right now I am basically talking about semantics, but I'm going to go ahead and quote Dumbledore one more time. Words are, in my not so humble opinion, our most inexhaustible source of magic, capable of both inflicting injury and remedying it. Encouraging our major media outlets to start thinking about the way they're using the term mental illness is not the solution to our society's deep stigmatization of mental health, but it's a great way to start. In the next week, I'll be launching Project UROK, which is dedicated to showcasing a wide array of digital content by people with mental illness for teens and young adults. In doing so, we hope to showcase the diversity of mental illness. It affects people across class lines, race lines, gender, sexuality. The bad news is that mental illness doesn't care who you are or where you came from. It can affect anyone. But the good news is that you're not alone and you are okay. If you are out there and you're struggling with mental illness and you don't know how to ask for help, we will be launching a full list of resources for you on Project UROK in the next week or so. And until then, please follow us on social media at Project UROK. Follow us on Instagram at Project UROK. We'll be posting links and helpful resources there. I'll also be linking to the National Suicide Hotline and some other helpful emergency numbers below if you're in a crisis situation. I'm just going to wrap up by just saying, if you are somebody who struggles with mental illness, don't be ashamed to use that terminology. You can be setting a really, really good example for the people around you. You are okay, and you rock.